We are on the path towards 400,000 YouTube subscribers. I hope you will subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/The David Pakman Show. Let's talk about tax returns. Many Democrats have been using different methods to try to obtain Donald Trump's tax returns. That effort has not really been supported by Republicans up until now. In fact, last week I told you that Republicans in the House actually voted down party lines not to request Donald Trump's tax returns from the Treasury using an old rule which would have allowed them to be provided to this within a committee. That has now changed. We now have two Republicans who have endorsed the effort from Democrats for two committees to request Donald Trump's tax returns. These are Congressman Mark Sanford from North Carolina, of course, of eloping to Argentina with his mistress fame, and Republican Walter Jones of North Carolina. And as we know, Donald Trump is the only president or presidential candidate in the last 40 years not to release his tax returns, and likely the candidate from the last 40 years whose tax returns would be most relevant and interesting to see, given the growing situation with Russian collusion, possible conflicts of interest, etc. At this point, if there were nothing to hide, wouldn't you just show the returns, Pat? Because not showing them is causing a problem. 74% of Americans want to see the tax returns. If there was nothing concerning in the tax returns, you'd think by now Trump would show them.
Well, he may not want to release them because it would embarrass him, because people would realize that he's not as rich as he claims to be.
Sure.
So maybe there's no actual conflicts of interest there, even though it's very hard to believe. But he could be hiding them for other reasons as well.
Yeah, and we've given the list of 6, 8, 10, 12 different reasons why Donald Trump might not want his tax returns to be made public. And to be super clear here, there's a method by which the tax returns can be obtained, period, right? The House Ways and Means Committee and the Senate Finance Committee, along with the Joint Committee on Taxation, they have the power to request individual tax returns from the Treasury Department. If they decide to do it, they get the tax returns. That would not make them public. They would then be able to decide whether or not to make them available to the full House, and that would effectively make the tax returns public. And people have emailed me saying, hey, David, why isn't it against the law for the president not to release their tax returns? 2016 and 2017 will be remembered for many Americans being shocked and surprised at how many things aren't against the law that presumably should be. I think that is going to be a theme of these years. There's no doubt about that. And one of the funnier things I saw was an explanation from Congressman Kevin Brady, who's the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, about why this is not a mechanism that should be used to draw out Trump's tax returns. He said, quote, "My belief is that if Congress begins to use its powers to rummage around in the tax returns of a president, what prevents Congress from doing the same to average Americans?" Congress does the same to average Americans. The government already rummages around in people's taxes. They have an entire division that is called the IRS, which does this. And not to mention, it's not just people's taxes that the government is rummaging around in. It's also in people's phone calls and people's emails, people's communications, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like the most bogus explanation for why this shouldn't be done on the sort of basis of privacy.
And it's great that these two Republican congressmen are doing this. I could see this trend continuing because there may be a coalition there between Democrats and then Republicans who are from swing states or were just never with Trump to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got Democrats plus 2 Republicans. Hopefully it'll grow. The trend is going in the direction, as Pat is pointing out, of more elected officials wanting the tax returns. We have 74% of Americans who want to see the tax returns. If we have the will of the people represented by our elected officials, we should have more than Democrats plus 2 Republicans who are pushing for the tax returns. Today's episode of The David Pakman Show is made possible in part by Warby Parker eyeglasses. Warby Parker recently did the right thing and ditched advertising on right-wing conspiracy website Breitbart, pulling their ads off, and you can get the free 5-day home try-on from Warby Parker. Check out their glasses. I use them when I'm not wearing contact lenses. I started with the free at-home trial. They send you 5 pairs of glasses. You see which ones you like. You send them back, and whichever one you pick, they will put your prescription into. I like this because I can actually show the glasses to other people and not have to just decide on the spot like in an eyeglass store. The eyeglass industry is controlled by very few corporations that keep the prices very, very high, even over $300 for prescription glasses. With Warby Parker, they start at just $95. Mine costs that, including lenses. And for every pair sold, they give a pair to someone in need. So to try the 5 pairs and support the David Pakman Show, go to warbyparkertrial.com/TDPS.